Hey guys, Coach Tim here, and welcome to another episode of Managing the Madness. I'm here with Marion Watkins. Marion, how you doing?
I'm great.
Awesome. So I'm really excited to talk to you today because we're kind of shifting gears with the podcast a little bit, and we're going to eventually come to speak to you a bit more about your parents and their role kind of in how they helped raise you and how they helped support you with your athletic career. But we want to talk to you first.
Okay.
So, obviously we work together.
Yes.
Hi, spoiler. Hi. And you've been working with me for about, I don't know, off and on probably for a while.
Yeah.
But speak to us a little bit, let everybody know a little bit about your kind of athletic background, your athletic history, kind of how you came up, sports you played, stuff like that.
Okay.
Yep.
When I was younger, I went through all the sports that kids go through: softball, soccer. I think I played basketball for a little bit.
Yeah.
And then once I got a little bit older, it was more serious. In middle school, I did soccer.
Okay.
And then I started cross country in, I think, 6th grade.
Wow, okay.
So it was soccer and cross country.
Yeah.
No, soccer, cross country, and lacrosse.
Got it.
Yes.
Got it.
And then I did that all through middle school. Then in 8th grade, I tore my ACL
Okay.
playing soccer.
Got it.
And so that was at the end of the season, and then I didn't even know what an ACL was at that point in time.
I didn't know what an ACL was when I was in 8th grade.
No, I was very confused. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so that was a lot really fast. Just
Yeah.
to be like I was playing defense in soccer, and I went to change directions, heard a pop,
Yeah.
was on the ground.
Okay. So it was non-contact.
Yeah, it was
right?
non-contact.
Okay.
And then I was on the ground for a while. My parents said I was on the ground for like 10 minutes. It felt like I was there for like a second. I was just like grabbing my knee, holding whatever, blah, blah, blah. Then we had a trainer, and he brought me back, and he was talking about like meniscus, ACL, all this stuff. And I'm like, I'm 13. I have no idea what you're saying.
What's going on.
And my parents were obviously very concerned and blah, blah, blah. And then I had surgery about 2 months later.
Okay.
And so that was a lot as an 8th grader, having to go under and have surgery, and yeah. Then high school started, and I can't remember if I was rehabbed. Oh, I was doing cross country again,
Okay.
and I was gonna play lacrosse. And
Okay.
by the time our like preseason cross country was starting, I was running
Yeah.
for the team. I was able to run
Okay.
from my surgery.
Yep.
And so I was running with the team, was running too much too quickly, got patellar tendonitis.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah. So then did cross country. Then at my high school, it was like a period.
Okay. Sure.
So it was like A day and B day.
Yeah. Yeah.
4th period and 8th period.
Yep.
You would have your PE or your track.
Yep.
So mine was cross country. What I didn't realize was that throughout the whole year, that stays the same.
Yes.
So
yeah.
my coach forced me to do track, even though I'd never done track before. I was a distance runner, and that was it.
Yeah.
So he put me in pole vault. Did you know that?
I did not know.
So
that.
I pole vaulted.
Oh,
That's
my
actually
God.
how I got my varsity letterman.
Was pole vault?
Was pole vaulting freshman year.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome. I would never have known that. I'd never known that.
He knew that there was no one in our district that had pole vaulters.
Okay.
So if he just put 3 people in pole vaulting,
You win district.
we would win district. And we would get
Stack
1,
in
2,
the
and
deck.
3 for every meet.
Yeah.
And so we didn't even have a pole vaulting pit. The first time I ever pole vaulted was at my first meet.
Wow. That's wild.
We had pole vaults, we
Yeah.
had a long jump,
Yeah.
and we had a high jump.
Yeah.
There was this weird thing that was like mimicked what the
What
pole
the
went
actual,
into.
Yeah.
And we would like fake it
Yeah.
into the sand and into the high jump pit.
So weird.
Yeah, it was
Okay.
really
Okay.
very weird time in my life when
Yeah.
I was pole vaulting. So I did that for like 2 years, pole
Okay.
vaulting.
Okay.
I was also playing lacrosse.
Yeah.
Played lacrosse all through high school. I think I stopped cross country by senior year. I was just
Yeah.
doing lacrosse.
Yeah.
Senior year to my other ACL. Then
Time out real fast. Tell me where'd you grow up? Where was this? Is this Houston, right? It's
Yeah, all this
Houston.
is Houston. So
Okay.
this is Lamar High School.
Yeah, that's right.
Mhm,
Okay.
And Presbyterian Middle School.
Got it.
And then, so October, it was preseason for lacrosse, and we
Okay.
had like a tournament, tore my ACL. Then,
Was
and
it
I knew
another
what it was.
non-contact or was it like a contact?
I think it was
Remember?
non-contact.
Okay. Yeah.
Honestly, it might have been contact, but it was like, I wouldn't classify it as contact. I was touching someone.
Yeah.
But it wasn't their fault.
It wasn't like they collided into you
Yeah.
and, you know, like from the side.
It was like I was going in to like score a goal, someone played defense
Yeah.
on me, I went to go change direction.
Yeah. Got it.
Tore my other ACL. I knew when it happened. Of course, the trainer was like, meniscus, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, okay, I've run this route before.
Sadly,
I know what
what's
it
going
is.
on.
Yeah. And then I was crying because it was my senior year. We had 8 coaches for lacrosse.
What?
Yeah, 8 coaches
Lacrosse?
in my 4 years. No.
Oh, okay. Across.
8 different coaches.
Got it.
So we had one coach my freshman year, but I was recovering.
Yeah.
So, and that was the best coach that we had had. We'd had him for years. He took us to state several times, whatever, blah, blah. Those coaches left. So I'm saying 8 coaches is in like including JV and varsity. So we had 4 coaches, we had 3 coaches then.
Yeah.
2 of those coaches stayed. Then we had another one. Then we had one, and it was a whole mess. And then we finally got a coach my senior year who I really loved.
Yeah.
And I was like, this is great. We're doing really well. Like, she knows what she's talking about. She's not creepy, because that was a concern for one of our coaches. Yeah. And then we went. So then I was really upset that I tore my ACL the year we finally had a good coach, and it was my senior year. I was like, I'm not missing this. So I went to the same surgeon that I had before and the same PT place, because they were really, really good.
Yeah.
And I was like, I don't want to have surgery. I don't want to play with the torn ACL for as long as I can. And so they were like, I mean, obviously we don't recommend that.
Yeah, I don't think
they were like, your
would.
options are have surgery or rehab really hard, play, and risk hurting more things, tearing more,
absolutely.
like everything else.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, I really, really want to play. So I rehabbed a lot in PT and outside of PT.
Yeah.
Played my senior year.
Yeah.
Played all the way into freshman fall and a little bit of spring fall at UT. And then re-injured it.
Yes. The second one.
Yes.
Which you didn't have surgically repaired.
Yes.
Got it.
So re-injured it my February of my freshman year.
Yeah.
So then it was considered, like I say, that
it's already torn at this point still. It hasn't been corrected, or I'm sorry, like surgically repaired, so it's still torn.
Yes.
But it's now, you've re-injured it.
But there's like scar tissue that built up, and there's something holding there. There's something there.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I re-injured and then tore both my meniscuses. In like minor ways, but like, you know.
Over the course of time, or that one?
In that third. Yeah.
We've talked about this to some degree before, but like the exact full detail.
Mm-hmm. Lateral and medial meniscus.
Yeah.
Yeah. So got some crunchy knees.
So in a hot second, we've figured out very quickly that you've lived a life.
Yeah.
You've lived an athletic life. I mean, I pretty much played one sport growing up, and neighborhood baseball, football with friends, but like never organized. So you've got like all these sports you actually were participating in, and then to go through a major surgery so early on, like we see that now in our situation, but I can't fathom like the mental processes that go through.
It was a lot. It was a lot, especially being such a young and like not immature, but like immature mind.
Sure.
Like as a 13-year-old having to like, I still remember the night before my surgery. I was like crying, and I was like, what if I don't wake up? Like all these like thoughts that you're like having that you're not like capable enough to have mature thoughts about it.
You can't actually rationalize.
Yeah.
That's not going to happen. That's silly. Like you can't, because as an adult you can say that's an irrational thought.
Yeah.
But as a kid you can't do this. It's hard to do that.
My mom just had a surgery a few months ago, and that was the first surgery she's ever had where she was put under. And it's like, wow.
Yeah.
She's obviously like 20, 30, 40 years older than me, and I had a surgery at 13.
At 13.
Than where I was put under.
What were your, like, do you remember, like, your friends or, like, your teammates like that? Like,
yeah, my friends were very, well, it's funny because...
How'd they respond or how they talked about it?
It's funny because my friends in 8th grade told me after I had that was actually very interesting because 8th grade girls can be really mean. The ones that I was friends with were like, I thought it was fake. I thought like, I was like, Marion, get up. Like, and it was actually our championship. It was the day before our championship game in soccer. Yeah. And so it was really intense. Yeah. And they were like, Marion, get up. Like, you're like messing around, whatever. My goalie, who's today still one of my best friends, was like, I heard the pop. And I was 20 feet away. And she was like, I didn't want to tell you when it happened, but I heard it.
Something was wrong.
Yeah.
It was clearly something was wrong.
Yeah. And then But yeah, they were really nice. They all came and visited, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah,
But since I didn't have surgery for like another 2 months, because you know how they prescribe that you work out really hard
Correct.
before, so you build your
Correct.
muscle mass, all that stuff.
Yeah.
Well, so I was working out, and I was like, people would be like, why do you have crutches? Why do you have this brace? Whatever, blah, blah. And I was like, oh, I tore my ACL. And they're like, you can't walk with a torn ACL.
Actually, you can.
Actually, I'm doing it right now, apparently. Thank you.
So some judgment as well as some support. Yeah.
Like the 8th grade boys and girls that are like, no, you can't. Like, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, well, I am, actually. And little as you know, I played lacrosse for a year with a torn ACL.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, that was, and then the second time when I had surgery in college, when I woke up, all my friends were there.
That's cool. Well, let's talk about that for a second. So, the other reason, multiple reasons I wanted to talk to you too, is that we deal with, and you obviously work for me, and you work here, and you work with the athletes we work with. We have certain populations that we pretty much see more than others. Soccer, swim. We have some volleyball kids, but like having you as a lacrosse player, and at this point, like having played at University of Texas, right, which is not let's be clear, it's not a varsity sport.
It's
a club sport, right?
Mm-hmm.
But just having a different exposure to a different sport, like talk to me about that process of, like, you always wanted to go to Texas, and then you just happened to recognize they had a good club team and you wanted to play there too, and then maybe speaking to the club sport scenario, because I've got some experience having coached at UT for a season in club soccer, but
I didn't know that.
Yeah, I was cool. UT's club soccer coach for a season. Yeah, it was before I started coaching soccer.
So you have a little taste of how club works.
A little bit, yeah, but like I'd love to hear, like, especially because I was there for 9 months, but like how that process goes along. Like, how did you find it? Yeah. How did you find your way to lacrosse in the first place? Because especially in it's Texas. Growing in Texas, but like the Northeast. At the time when I started in 6th grade, So talk to me, how did you find that? Talk me through that kind of part of the story.
6th grade was the first year that you could play sports at my middle school. Okay. And that was the first year they got lacrosse. And my soccer coach was my lacrosse coach. Okay. Mm-hmm. Okay. And so it was that whole kind of thing where there's like, oh, lacrosse is new, we're gonna get it, and then throw someone on there. So I think for 6th grade we had my soccer coach as my lacrosse coach, but then we did get a lacrosse coach who ended up being small world in Houston. Everything, honestly in every sport. Sure. Because even now that I'm coaching in Austin, like everything is so connected. Yeah. But my coach was Coach P, the female Coach P. Yeah. The male Coach P was my high school coach for 1 year. Yeah. And so they were like a great dynamic duo. They were great coaches. Yeah. But so that's how I was like, okay, lacrosse seems fun, whatever. So I started in 6th grade. Yeah. Then by the time I went through high school, I was really loving it. I got like MVP in high school, and I was like captain and all that stuff, like very involved. And so I was like, okay, I'm gonna
accolades and stuff.
See if I can play in college. So then I did a couple tours at different schools. My dad and I would go and look and like meet the coaches and like view practices and all that kind of stuff. Yeah. And I think that it was like so then obviously both my parents went to UT. Okay. And most of my family went to UT. And so obviously that was like in the back of my mind, but I was like, they don't have a D1 team. So I was like not considering it for lacrosse. Got it. And then it was just random, really. It was just that I went for my UT tour and I was like, no, this is where I want to be. Yeah. It was like one of those like aha click moments. Yeah. Like I can't see myself anywhere else. Yeah. And then one of the girls that I played in high school with, actually 2 of the girls were playing at UT. Okay. At the time. So
you had that connection already, like, okay, I got my serendipitous, like, this is the campus I want to be at, this is the environment I want to be in, and I happen to know 2 people who played for the club lacrosse team, and that's...
Who I played with in club high school and in high school lacrosse.
So you actually played club lacrosse as well?
In high school.
Okay, got it.
For the male Coach P.
For the male Coach P. Mm-hmm. And would you say that, and again, you're starting to dabble your toes in like the club soccer world with some of the coaching we do, is it a similar scenario where
it was a smaller club? Okay. So it was an invite only.
Got it. Like a true invite only.
Yeah. Okay. Like I was like really, really excited when I got the email.
Got it.
Because it was not like Coach P is very, very serious about his sports and his lacrosse and the way his team works and all that stuff. Yeah. Like, he's not inviting just anyone on the team. So it was a really small team, first of all. Got it. There were like maybe 20 of us. Yep. And 12 play on a field in lacrosse. Yep. And we, but it was, since it was small and it was like relatively new, it wasn't that new, but it was relatively new. Sure. Then it wasn't quite as like, we were going to a lot of tournaments, we weren't going to like every single tournament. And got it. It wasn't like but I liked that it was small. You got to know the girls really well.
That's true. So was it travel as well, like outside of Houston?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah. Got it. Yeah, okay. We went to quite a few places, Virginia, Florida.
Gotcha. Okay. Very cool. Then, so with the UT lacrosse not being varsity, being a club sport, like, talk through the dynamic of what that's like, because obviously, and I can remember this, you're representing your campus, your school,
Yeah.
right? You're all, and so you've got swag, you've got uniforms, you get the same thing that you would have in theory representing, from at a varsity level of sport, but at the same time, it's run through intramural sports. Is that right, or
It's run through rec sports.
It runs through rec sports. That's right. And obviously you have a coach, but you don't have the same access like you would have in D1.
Yeah, it's really interesting. It's basically student run and student led.
Got it.
So we pick our coaches, we interview them, we set up payment, we have a president, vice president, treasurer, social chair, merchandise, PR. We have all of these that are voted, captains, all that stuff. Basically everything that coaches or the school would handle, we handle.
Got it.
Which obviously it's it's not as intense as a D1 sport.
Sure.
That is like straight off the bat, it's not the case.
Yeah.
We are not getting paid for it, we're paying to play.
Yeah.
And so we're paying a semester dues, all that kind of stuff. And that's going to coaches, whatever, but then when merch comes in, we buy what we want.
Yeah.
So it's not like we're not getting free stuff all the time, which is like, that would be nice. But,
of course.
Yeah, it was a little different, but it's kind of like, there was like rec sports, intermediate sports, or intermediate, and then there's club, and then like at UT, that's the lineup.
The pyramid, right?
Yeah. And so a lot of people would confuse it for intramural.
Yeah.
And I was like, don't play intramural sports.
No, it's not. No, that's what.
It's like, I have a coach.
Correct. Yeah, and we actually interviewed him, and we actually hired him.
Yeah. But yeah, so we set up all the travel too, so we have to go through like a travel agency, talk to them, find the hotel that's next to the field, rent the vans, do this, do that. And so I really ended up liking that.
Yeah.
I think that I would have gotten burnt out if I was playing a D1 sport.
Gotcha.
Or even like a D3
Well, you have
sport.
more ownership of the situation. Right?
Absolutely, and also it's up to us. So like the coaches don't have anything to do except the practice plans.
Yeah.
And we since we literally did everything, we would decide like yes, the coach has a say, but like it's not their say is not the final say.
Yeah.
Which was a really interesting dynamic because obviously that's not typically the case.
No, and I can speak to this specifically as having been that coach for 1 year, for one season. We had certain dynamics where like the captains and I really wanted certain things, but if not everyone wanted that, then we didn't necessarily do it. And at the time I was really young. I was 15 years ago at least, and it was a really I probably struggled with some of it at times.
It's a little shell shocking, especially because like our lacrosse, like just being in a club sport in general, it's a lower level of responsibility compared to a D1 sport. And lacrosse is also kind of tends to be like a social group of girls and guys.
As was soccer.
But and so like Thursdays was like the day where every sorority formal was.
Yeah.
And so like the coaches would be like, we want to practice 4 days a week, and it's like, well, we're not practicing on Thursdays, and we're sure as not practicing on Fridays. Yeah, exactly. And so it was like we're practicing Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and so it was really interesting too to figure that out because we would have games on the weekends. But we'd practice, and we played around with practice schedules. But Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, so we're practicing 3 days a week in our season. Yeah. And it was like, and we were still going to nationals and like doing all this, and so. And we'd have 2-hour practices from 7 to 9 p.m. Yep. And so it was just very different from from what I was used to, and from just it was interesting. Yeah. It was really interesting, but I enjoyed it.
Yeah. So let's have a little segue into kind of what I really want to get into on this one is kind of how your parents were with you, as far as supporting you athletically, emotionally, educationally, stuff like that, and even maybe a little bit of history on them too. So, did your parents actually play sport? First off, what are your parents' names?
Sharon and Rick.
Sharon and Rick. Mm-hmm. Okay. Do you remember, or do you know if they actually were athletes themselves when they were younger?
Not in college, except for recreational stuff.
Sure.
My mom was on drill team.
Nice.
In tomball.
Yeah.
And
that's big time. Houston drill team is big time.
Yeah. Intense. Like the rhinestones on the uniforms all that stuff. Yeah. And then my dad played football and baseball.
Sweet. Okay. Very cool. I'm assuming, I would assume that they were very much encouraging of you to be in sports and be an athlete.
Yes. Yeah, definitely.
They had that background as well.
Yes.
Got it. Did they kind of direct you more or less one way or the other, like from a selection standpoint?
Not
Do you feel
really.
like that? No?
No,
Okay.
not really. There wasn't. I don't know. I guess like, I mean, I played softball for a while when I was younger. I guess that's because every little kid in Houston was playing soccer. Like,
Okay.
Little League's really big.
Yeah.
So I played softball and then I played soccer as like a really young kid. I went to like Rice soccer camps and that kind of
Yeah,
stuff.
yeah.
But they were never pushy on like, you have to play this sport or
Got it.
that kind of thing.
Got it.
Yeah.
Yeah, we
They were very supportive of whatever I was deciding.
it's getting into my mid 40s, and now I'm talking with people who are like parents who are here who actually are younger than me for the first time in a while. Like, it's interesting because a lot of times, sometimes I've run into ones like that are actually I've played with before, like
Yeah.
youth or adult leagues or stuff like that.
Yeah.
And kind of seeing that sometimes the apple doesn't fall from the tree. Like if guys that I play with in our adult leagues, they're bringing their sons in or their daughters in,
Yeah.
and they're soccer players as well. So I don't have kids, but I think that I sure would have loved to have thought that if I did, they'd be soccer players,
Right. Yeah.
So it would you would have to like give that like part of you up to go, but they want to play basketball.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I'm going to become a basketball dad also.
Yeah.
So, okay,
Yeah.
very cool. What was a weekday like, or a week like of practice schedules? Did mom take you? Did dad take you? How did they like manage?
When I was younger?
Yeah, like say middle schoolish, kind of like the meat of the time
Yeah.
frame, right? Yeah.
Our practice, we went to a middle school that was kind of in like Montrose area of Houston, if you're familiar. So
sort
there's
of.
not a lot of space
Okay.
around, like it's like the museum district.
Okay.
Yeah. And so our facility was like way out down, I don't even remember what roads
Yeah.
that was because I was young, but
Yeah.
we would I'd go to school, mom or dad would drop me off, and then I would go throughout school, and then right after school we'd get on the bus and go to practice.
Okay.
And then we'd get
Got
picked
it.
up from practice by
Oh,
one of my
okay.
parents.
So they would bus you there.
Yeah,
That's
but,
nice.
but not back.
Yeah, I gotcha. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So.
Outdoor Education Center is what it's
Yeah.
called.
Okay. All right. Outdoor Education Center.
Yep.
Nice.
OEC.
Nice. So there was like no like snacks in the car on the way to practice or anything like that. Like.
No,
Yeah.
in high school, but that was when I was driving myself.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
And that was also a different facility. So Lamar had a facility or a field that they would like rent, I guess, because club
Yeah.
at lacrosse at Lamar was also club.
Okay.
It was not
okay.
high school.
Got it.
Yeah.
Okay.
It was like club. It was like Lamar claimed that it was their team, but it wasn't.
No.
Like through, yeah.
There's some
Like the
sports
parents,
that,
it was
yeah.
like again like I forget what the name of the association is called, but
Yeah.
the parents were like hiring coaches.
Got it.
Yeah.
Got it.
Not the school.
Would they go to like games and tournaments on the weekends?
Who, parents?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. They
Yeah.
never missed a game.
Yeah. Never missed a game.
No.
Okay.
Yeah. But yeah, my dad's actually gotten kicked out of a few games.
Okay. All right. There we go. There's some meat. Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
He's a little boisterous, maybe a little.
Yeah, I actually remember the first
outspoken?
time that he got kicked out of one of my games was maybe before middle school soccer game.
Middle school soccer.
Yeah, it was. I forgot the name of the team, but it was
Sure.
like before middle school because it
Yeah.
was like a club type thing.
Yeah.
And we were playing on this field in Houston, and the refs, because since it's such young kids, the refs are also like 18,
they're
17
kids.
years.
They're teenagers.
And it was this like curly-haired redhead ref, and my dad, like several parents were yelling, but my dad, I guess, was the easiest one to pick out, and he kicked him off the field.
That's
Yeah.
awesome.
I can't remember what for. I think I did like something incorrectly in terms of rules.
Sure.
Like I was a goalie,
Okay.
so I was holding the ball, and I like maybe stepped out of where I
Yeah.
could hold it.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I was like 8, so.
Yeah.
But then it was like, so then my dad was like, "Come on, she's 8," like whatever, and yeah.
So, but he's been kicked out of multiple games. Like, how about lacrosse? Anything from, like when you were
Lacrosse,
older? And
lacrosse, I kind of had a little bit more like. Obviously, when I'm 8 years old, I'm not gonna be like, "Dad, stop."
Yeah, sure.
So, but when I was older, I could be like,
Give him a look.
stop.
Like, hey, settle down.
Like, yeah, because the refs would come to the coaches and the players first and be like, "Blue, your team needs to settle down," or
Yeah.
whatever.
Were they
Or
on the
your-
so?
or
Were
your
they on the
parents.
opposite sides of the field from you guys?
Opposite,
Okay,
yeah.
good. Because again, like I would think sometimes we had to do that a lot in soccer, where it was no, you guys are over there. And
Yeah.
you'd see parents like coming along the end
Well,
line
so then my dad
to
started.
encroach as close as they could get. Okay,
Yeah.
we're not on your sideline, but we're not on our sideline either.
What ended up working well for him was he started taking our stats.
Ah.
Since it was club,
Yes.
it was whatever. So since he was taking our stats, we had one of those towers.
Okay.
He could be in the tower, so he's behind our thing. But because he was doing that,
Yep.
he's not allowed to yell.
Yes.
That's a neutral. That's a neutral zone.
That's
So he found that was best for him.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's like I had team managers on teams who would like bring like lollipops on purpose and like hand them out to the parents. And
That's
be like,
funny.
put this in your mouth because
Yeah.
if you're sucking on this thing, you can't be screaming
Yeah.
at the refs.
Yeah.
So he excused himself from the games then.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome. What about your mom? As
My-
boisterous as vocal?
No, not. I mean, not as like. Not as vocal in like a yelling way, but in like in a cheering way.
In a supportive way.
Yeah. She would make in the winter our team's Lamar's colors were red and blue,
Okay.
and she like knitted pom poms and like and like gloves and
You have
hats
any of those still?
and scarves. Yeah, she's got them all still.
That's awesome.
And then she did it for UT too.
Yeah.
Not knitted, crocheted.
Yeah.
But yeah,
That's awesome.
and she would like give them to like her little mom friend group, who I'm still friends with those girls.
That's awesome. See, that's we're laying roots there. That's
Yeah.
awesome. That is so cool. How are they during your injuries? Like, especially the second one later
second
on
one.
when you were older and you could actually maybe comprehend a little bit more.
Yeah.
But like, how did they help you through those times? Like,
They were really upset
Yeah.
because I was a good lacrosse player and
Yeah.
like I was looking at colleges at that time,
gotcha.
and it was also like they were also fully invested in like the coaching like stuff that was going on, and we finally had a good coach that they liked also.
Okay, got it. Yeah.
And so then for me to do that, they were like really upset that was happening. But in terms of like support, they fully, I mean, maybe there was a little bit of pushback in like are you sure you want to risk doing this later? Maybe, though. I don't really remember that. I'm just like saying that in terms of like
Sure.
just to say it, but
Yeah.
they were very supportive of like, let's do that. They like, my mom found a friend of hers who was using red light therapy,
Okay.
and so I got one of those red light therapy things that I was
Yeah.
using on my knee all the time. But yeah, very, very supportive
Got it. Very cool.
throughout all of that.
Cool. What do they do?
My mom worked for Enron,
Okay.
accountant there,
Yeah.
and then she was the whistleblower for Enron, and then obviously that.
Boom. Boom.
So I was actually very, very lucky because she was the whistleblower.
Yeah.
She wasn't working day to day. She was obviously, when I was really, really young, when I was 1 or 2 when it happened.
Yeah.
So she was going through all that scandal, and that's why the other day when I was talking about how that Escalade picked her up in the morning,
Yeah.
I was like, that was a huge throwback for me.
Oh wow, yeah,
Because
sure,
it was really
sure,
nostalgic, because when I
Sure.
was younger, it would be like dawn, and there would just be like, it'd be like hazy outside, you could just see like the black Escalade with the lights, and it would be like 5 or 6 a.m. and she's like leaving to go to like a podcast or like legal stuff or
Yeah,
whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah, there was like news crews outside our house and like all that kind of stuff. So like
Got it.
weird there, but blessed because she was able to spend a lot of time at home, because that took her job away from her.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And so then she was giving speeches for a really long time.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, and that was supporting us for a while, because it was very obviously like the biggest oil company in the world.
Period. In the
And
story. Yeah. Yeah.
And then it was taken down by her, and so everyone was like, whoa. But then at the same time, people don't necessarily, like, as ironic as this is, don't want a whistleblower in their company.
Yeah, sure. Imagine
So it was
that.
hard for her to find another job.
Sure.
So she gave speeches for a really long time.
Got it.
Then taught as a professor,
Okay.
and she's an adjunct professor at UNC.
Okay.
She just did 1 year at Texas State.
Okay.
And then she's still doing adjunct for UNC, but she's not doing Texas State anymore.
Gotcha.
And she's kind of like feeling around with third career options.
Yeah.
My dad worked in oil and gas.
Okay.
He did that for a while, but he was working for a Canadian company.
Okay.
So he was going to Canada a lot. But
Got
that
it.
was when I was younger.
Got it.
It slowed down a little bit. I think there was some stuff happening within the company.
Yep.
And then, so that slowed down a lot. So he wasn't going to Canada as much, and he was at home. So I basically had 2 parents that were at home like full time.
I was gonna say, like, that's what I was going with that. Was it how regular in your like athletic and or just regular everyday life were they? And it sounds like If he's traveling a lot,
They
that's
were
one
able
thing,
to
but
be
it sounds like,
very-
yeah,
yeah.
you're there a lot.
Which also was nice because I traveled a lot.
Yep.
Like I went to Calgary several times. My mom, like her speeches, she would just either use, because she had tons of points obviously, she would use her points to get me and my dad stuff.
Yeah.
And then we would go, like, I went to Disney World like 4 times just on her speeches. Like, not because it was like, let's go to Disney World, it was like,
No.
mom's giving a speech.
Yeah, Mom's giving a speech in Orlando, so
We're gonna make it a trip.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what Spain was this year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's so cool.
Yeah, it was really nice.
That's really cool. Absolutely. So let's shift one more segue, and this is something we've talked about a little bit in here. So now sport careers behind you're coaching,
Yes.
right? And then you're moving into your semblance of a career, right? You graduated UT, right? You're working here. Obviously, there's a connection with you being in the building, but as far as like how they are with you moving into a career, right? Like so, we've talked about this personally, but what did you want to do coming out of school? How did they support you in that? Like, what's been that process like?
This is a little interesting because both my parents are in the older demographic for my age group. Does that make sense?
It does. Yeah.
Like, but most of my friends' parents are younger.
Like, so I'm 45. My parents are in their early to mid 70s.
Yeah.
Right. And yours are in their 60s.
My mom is 62. My dad's 72.
Got it. Okay. And you're only what, 24?
23.
23. Yeah.
Yeah. And so.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right. They're definitely in the older demographic for how old you are.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so I think because of that, there's a little bit, and because they were both in corporate jobs. I have my own theories about this, but
yeah, sure.
they were both in corporate jobs, and so I think that and you know that in the kinesiology world, there's not nearly as much structure.
Absolutely.
Like you don't go to these job fairs and get like recruiting done during college and go to like Deloitte and like all these like Fortune 500. There's not that in the fitness world.
No, it doesn't work that way.
And I think that's so. Backtracking.
Yeah.
Since my 8th grade ACL, I wanted to be a physical therapist.
Got it.
And I think that was more just because of the connections I made with my physical therapist.
Sure.
And I made that decision at a very young age. I was like, I want to be a physical therapist.
Yeah.
And so then I just stuck with it. And then I did it again my senior year.
Sure.
Had the same physical therapist.
Just drives that, more.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Had the same physical therapist that I had in 8th grade.
Yep.
And it was just like, oh, I love this so much, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
Then I get to college. I'm going to be I'm majoring in applied movement science, exercise science, whatever. I work at a PT clinic, and it was the first time that I had looked at it in an employee sense, not a patient sense.
The other way around, yeah.
And so then I saw everything with like the insurance and how like patients would come in and like, yes, their PT's greeting them and seeing them for like getting to talk to them while they do heat for 10 minutes.
Yeah.
But then I'm running them through their whole session.
Yeah.
They talk with their PT for 10 minutes at the end, and then they're out the door.
Yeah.
And there's just complications with insurance. You can get like sued so easily.
Yeah.
And there's just a lot. And I, like the PTs at the clinic that I worked at would like go to the coffee shop across the street after work, after being at work for like 8-10 hours, and continue doing paperwork.
Doing notes, yeah.
Yeah, and I was like, yikes. Like they have families. They're waking up at 5 a.m. and going to like, I was like, that's not something that I think that I could do, but that was structure.
Yeah.
So that was go to school, undergrad, do all this, like intern, whatever, get your hours, apply to PT school, go to PT school, 3 years, finish, get a job.
Yeah.
Like that's cookie cutter.
Yeah, no, very much. It's there's a ladder effect to that.
Yes.
It's a cause and effect, start to finish.
Yes.
And you can see progress there, and probably in their eyes, coming from that world of business and whatnot, you can see the similar kind of pathway.
Right. And it was something. Like it was there. It was my senior year. In the fall, I decided that I did not want to do PT.
Yeah.
And it was a very much like made my mind up. I do not want to do it.
Yeah.
And it's not that I have anything against PT. Obviously, I spent years in PT. Like I love it.
Yeah.
It was just not that something that I personally wanted to do. There's some people that can do that. There's just a lot of reasons that I didn't want to.
Yeah.
But that was really hard. I think that if I had made that decision earlier,
in your like college career, probably.
Yes,
yeah.
that would have been a lot easier on my parents. They would have more time to wrap their heads around it. Because for me, it was I don't want to do this. I graduate. Okay, what are you doing? You know?
Yeah.
It was like I didn't have, and even for myself, I didn't have enough time to really like figure out. And that was during COVID.
Sure.
And like
there's a lot of uncertainty. Period. At that time. Yeah.
Well, and it was like everyone was depressed. Like that was like, and my roommates and I lived in this apartment, 6 of us in this 4-bedroom apartment, and we didn't have a window that looked at the sky. It looked like at another building. And so yeah, it was.
Oh yeah.
There was a lot of emotions.
Yeah, sure.
But yeah, so that has been one thing that's been kind of difficult. My mom was the breadwinner in our family.
Sure.
And so she's a little bit more like, what are you gonna do? Like, how are you gonna make money?
She's
What are
a
you
little
gonna
more on
do for
top
your
of you
job?
about it. Yeah.
And
what's your dad like? Does he kind of just like sit in the back and second her opinion, or does he like have time to talk to you quietly and be like, you know what, be cool, you'll figure it out? Like, what's he like?
I don't think that he worries about me so much.
Okay.
I think he just kind of like, it's funny, my mom and I talked about this the other day. She was like women or girls who have dads who are, what did she use the word, doubting? Like
Okay.
doubt, like not doubting, like D-O-U.
Oh, no. I know what you're talking about. Like they kind of like, they're just constantly showering you with stuff.
Yes.
Yeah.
She was like, girls and women who have dads that do that end up being like very, very confident because they think that they can do anything because their dads were always like that. That's kind of how.
Yeah.
That's kind of how he is.
Yeah.
Like he's always like, Marion's gonna go to law school and do this and do that, and she's gonna become a doctor and all this stuff. And I'm like, okay, like I don't take it as like him thinking that I'm not doing enough by not doing those things.
Got it.
I see it as him being like, my daughter can do anything.
Anything she wants to do, she can do.
Yes.
Yeah. That's I would think that's the right way to do something.
Right.
You know, I don't care what you do, but I know you can do whatever you want to do.
Yeah.
You can set your mind to something. I've seen you overcome 2 ACL injuries, play with a torn ACL for a year and a half practically.
Right.
Like, if you have your mindset to it, then you're probably gonna do it.
He really, really, really loved when I played sports and loved like watching me play.
Yeah.
That was really, really hard for him to not watch me play for COVID.
Oh yeah, sure.
Yeah. During COVID for like 2 years, because my freshman year tore my ACL in February, so the rest of the season I was out. Then sophomore year was the 1 year I had. Junior year, March, so like the end of the season-ish.
Yeah.
Like March, April, May, like that's when our like majority of our stuff goes.
Yeah.
March, April, May was gone, and then obviously senior year was gone. So I had like a year and a half, maybe 2 years of playing.
Yep.
And so he is really like, when are you gonna get your master's and play again? Like, because I have like 3 years of eligibility. And so that's he really wants me to play again.
Yeah.
Just because he loves watching me play, but yeah, they're very supportive. My mom is also very supportive, but it's just more a little bit like, it's a very interesting dynamic because it's the opposite of the traditional.
No, you can
the
say
father's
that.
the breadwinner
You
and
can say
like
that. Yeah.
has the
You can
like
say that.
yeah. And so she will just put more pressure on me, which like is hard when that happens because it doesn't happen often, you know, it's not constant pressure.
Sure.
So when it happens, I'm like,
where's this coming from?
Where is this coming from? But then once it does, I'm like, okay, like that forced me to figure this out.
Yeah.
And so now I'm here, like whatever.
Just constantly nudging you.
Yeah.
Right, towards progress, because they don't want it. And I think you can second what your dad's just overall thought process is, and she's the one. You know, she probably believes the same thing.
Yeah.
But she
just wants to see it happen.
Yeah, but since she has been the one that has been kind of leading the way a little bit throughout the past 20 some odd years, like she believes the same thing he does, but she just wants to make sure it happens.
Exactly.
In whatever way, right? In whatever field, or she's like,
that's the main thing is
positivity is good, but a little bit of kick in the butt is what you need once in a while.
No, the main thing is that she's like, okay, we'll do it. Like,
correct.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She's like, get it done, do it. Like whatever you're gonna do. And so that was the struggle there though, was that like it was like from having the cookie cutter to having little to no idea.
No,
that's not true.
Well,
I had an idea.
Yeah.
Getting there is the issue.
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, and you're right. The fields are, you know, international business.
Yeah.
Basically. And you know, kinesiology are, you know, personal training, whatever this all is, right? Right. You know, this is whatever life coaching, right? Like whatever you want to call it, are completely opposite ends of the spectrum.
Usually.
Right? Like I can remember being in grad school and having no clue what was happening the next day after graduation. Mm-hmm. Like, there were no advisors or professors like. That's
what I think has been the hardest part is because that like in that setting, like you and I both know, there's not that security.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
And then, but in the business world,
Yeah.
my friends are like straight into like
right
either into masters
Yeah.
to get like their CPA
Yeah.
or straight into business.
Yeah.
And it's like, you know what you're doing, like
Yeah.
whether you like it or not. That's
and
another
there's
thing.
the rub, right?
Yeah.
Like at least you're not doing something you don't like.
Yeah.
Right, and that's
Yeah.
and give it enough time, and that's when it's the same thing with this. It was a struggle to begin with, and now you're 5, 6, 10 years down the road, and it's just you find what works, and it's easy
Yeah.
and you love it, right?
Yeah.
So, I want to wrap with a little bit on you as a coach.
Okay.
I think it's been an interesting angle,
Okay.
right? So, how long have you been coaching, and generally, what age group are you coaching?
6 years.
Okay.
I started with 5th and 6th grade.
Okay.
Did that for 2 years.
Yep.
7th, 8th grade 1 year. 7th, 8th grade 2 years, but 1 year COVID happened.
Got it.
Then high school for 2 years.
And remind me which school? St. Andrews. Okay.
Yeah,
got it.
is that 5? That's 6.
Yeah. Okay.
St. Andrews. So I did middle school and then I did high school. High school varsity.
Gotcha. So who are you as a coach? Because this is something I mean, obviously
Yeah,
you've
you've
known each
never
other for a
seen
while,
it.
but I've never seen you coach a
Yeah.
sport, right? Sports across.
Let's see, that's interesting because like I'm not the one to be like get on the line,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
But I'm also not the one to be like, okay, yeah, like go ahead, like
Go pick some flowers. We're good.
yeah. Like I feel like the girls told me that like the high school girls, because obviously a little bit different. The middle school, it's a different kind of coaching.
Sure.
And so that's like its own thing. I also was in college when I was doing that. So I started coaching when I was a freshman.
Yeah.
And then I did it all 4 years, and then for the past 2 years. Or this year, and then this coming year will be my 6th year, I guess.
Okay.
Maybe.
Gotcha.
There might be some discrepancies in that math. But
Yeah.
so the girls said that they were, so our first 2 weeks of practice are like 6:15 in the morning, and like it's February, so the sun isn't risen yet.
Yep.
And so I'm like, I hate the cold, and so I'm like 2 pairs of leggings,
Yep.
and then like Texas lacrosse sweatpants,
Yep.
like 4 undershirts, Texas
Yep.
lacrosse sweatshirt, and I'm
Yep.
like this,
Yeah.
and they were like, we were so scared of you when you first like
Because you're just
I'm like, run, like
Yeah.
in this like hood, and like
Yeah.
this much of my face is showing because we
Yeah.
had to wear masks too.
Oh, sure.
So like literally this much of my skin is showing. Yeah, so but those are I really love those girls, and I think that, I don't know, I think as a coach I get angry obviously, but I get angry if they're not like, if I can tell that like they want to do something and they're not doing it.
Yeah.
And like they have the capability to do something and they're not.
Yeah.
But I would say I'd like to say that I'm generally not like a mean coach.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So when I coached, my brother and I used to talk about this because we would compare it to ourselves. He's like, so we like the English Premier League for soccer, and we would watch. And there's certain coaches that have certain styles, like certain ones just literally sit there and don't say anything for the whole first half, and then you talk
That's
at
kind of-
halftime. Or some of them are like literally from the jump, like 30 seconds in, or standing up as close as they can get.
That's me.
Okay, that was me too.
Yeah. Like I'm like, cause that box that you can't go, the
Yep.
ref box.
Yep.
I'm like right on the edge of that,
Yep.
screaming.
Yep.
Yeah, and
I
it's
would,
not that
I
I'm
would
screaming.
be half on the field with my
Yeah.
feet. Half the
Oh
time.
yeah, it's not that I'm screaming bad things.
No, exactly. No.
It's just that I'm screaming.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Well, and I had a little girl once be like, he was like 9 years old. She's like, new kid on the team, and she goes, he only screams because he wants to make sure you hear him.
Yeah.
He doesn't have to hear you. It's
Exactly.
the sweetest thing for a 9-year-old to tell another 9-year-old that. But so okay, so
Oh.
you're in the similar boat. You're up and engaged the whole time.
Yeah, I do a lot of the squatting
Yeah.
where you're like this, like
Yeah.
a lot of that.
Very cool. Very cool. Okay, last question. Last thing.
Okay.
Favorite, other than your dad getting kicked out,
Okay.
favorite parent memory from your athletic career?
Ooh,
Favorite parent memory, like that they were involved in somehow.
that's interesting. That really scratches the brain.
Yeah.
Let's see.
I like your dad getting kicked out person. That's kind of fun. But your favorite? Small, big.
See, the thing is, there's so many. I don't know, like,
Yeah.
they were just so involved, and I'm so lucky to have had them be so involved in my sports, because obviously that translates to a lot of other things in life,
Yeah, absolutely.
just like feeling support and love. Let me think. This is kind of tough. Maybe this is kind of like a funny memory.
Sure. No, that's all good, right? It's your call.
It's when I was younger and I was
Yeah.
playing softball.
Yeah.
And I went through this phase of softball where right after I would swing, I would like throw the bat. Like I would swing and then I would let go with my right hand and like it would just fly. And I was getting like, the ump was like,
dude,
stop. Like just don't throw it. And like I was like almost hitting girls. Like it was like, yeah. No, it was bad. Like the bat would fly. And my parents were like, how do we make her stop doing this? Like, and so they were like helping me, like we were at home, like doing whatever. They would be like, they'd like throw a ball or like not even with a ball and like swing, be like, drop. Like,
just
so I mean like drop the bat.
Yeah,
dropping the bat instead of like throwing
flinging it. Yeah.
And so I think that was funny because they could have gotten mad at me. They could have been like,
Yeah.
because I'm like, what, 10 probably years old, and I'm like doing this weird thing all of a sudden that I've never done before.
Yeah.
And I'm just like throwing the bat, and they like have this kid who's like the other parents are like, what is that kid doing? Like, you know what I mean? Like,
hey.
it's
hey,
like an opportunity. Exactly. It's an opportunity to be like embarrassed.
Sure.
And be like, Marion, stop, like yell.
Yeah.
And instead they took an approach of like, okay, let's get this out of your system. Like
That's cool.
let's stop throwing the bat
Yeah.
and getting kicked out of the games.
Yeah.
Because I was getting kicked out.
Of course.
Because I kept throwing the bat. They were like, you can't bat anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Thanks. That was fun.
Yeah.
That was fantastic.
Yeah.
Awesome. Guys, thank you for joining us, and we'll see you next time. Take care.
Bye.